Looks like we're live.
Hi everybody, I'm Barbara from InSpirit Centre. This is the lovely Christine, and we're here today to talk about all things magical. Thank you very much for your patience as we started a little bit late, but I think you're going to find it to be worth it. Yes. So first I want to talk a little bit about what our paths are for both Christine and myself, and then we're going to go into some questions and all kinds of good stuff. And if you have a question, please feel free to post it. If you see me doing this, it's because I'm trying to read your questions. If we miss it, hi Jennifer, hi Teresa. If we miss it, I promise we will answer at the end because my eyesight's not the best. So Christine, let's start with your path. You are a practicing pagan, yes?
Yeah, technically, more specifically so, I'm a practicing witch, and my spiritual path is witchcraft. And one of the reasons why I wanted to just start off with that is because it's a really broad term. It's a really loaded word, and it doesn't mean the same thing to everybody. So my path is actually with the Temple of Witchcraft in New Hampshire. So I'm an initiate of that tradition. I'm currently studying for the High Priesthood for that. So it's a huge undertaking, a lot of responsibility that's coming my way, but I think I'm ready for it. It's time to just kind of commit. And when I talk about witch and witchcraft, I'm really looking at it from the perspective that I'm familiar with. That's under the umbrella of paganism. So if you think of Christianity, can have many different types of traditions within that. Under the pagan umbrella, we have many types of paths as well that can be quite different from one another. So for me, the path of the witch is words that would resonate with me would be like a walker between the worlds, a healer, a shaman, one who bends and shapes, a magical person. And for myself, I feel that the tradition that I'm following is especially life-affirming and healing for me. So it's actually witchcraft as a religion. And I don't even like the word religion very much because I guess I don't want to commit to one thing, but I'm kind of committing to this now. So it really is, it's fair to say. So that's the perspective that I'm coming from. Yeah.
And so from my spiritual perspective, I consider myself eclectic. I don't like to sit in any particular box. And I also don't subscribe to paganism exclusively. There's lots about it that I like. Just like there's lots of things I like about Buddhism and Christianity and all those things. So I consider myself spiritual, but not specific. And that's kind of how I define it. Have I ever been called a witch? Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. But that's okay. I take it as a compliment and not as an insult.
Yeah.
So some of the things that we do here at InSpirit Centre is we both provide readings and we have our own unique style. So I do what I call multi-dimensional readings. So I have tarot cards, oracle cards. I do mediumship. Could I get some information about the process to protect myself? Yes, Jennifer, that's a wonderful question. And I'm going to come into that very shortly. So like I said, there's my magic. I'm trying to read things. Jennifer's asking about getting tips for protection, and absolutely, I'll cover that momentarily. So going back to my readings, I do what I call the multidimensional. So it's a wide variety, and we can cover everything: mediumship, past life, future, looking at existing problems from new perspectives, all those kinds of things. But Christine also offers readings at InSpirit Centre. She has a very unique style that you've probably never come across. Do you mind telling everybody just a little bit about your style?
Sure. I've been calling my readings crystal toss as a divination system, but it's really a form of like crystal casting. So tossing crystals onto a cloth that I've created for myself. I was known back in the day to be a mad quilter, so I actually appliqued this whole pattern, the patterns that are on my cloth that resonated with basically archetypes, things that I can recognize, patterns, and same thing with crystals, things that might represent chakras or elements, something that I can kind of wrap my head around. Now, tossing objects onto a cloth or onto a surface is probably, I think I was tapping into something that is really as old as time. But in terms of the way that I've put it together, it's definitely, like you can kind of see how my crazy brain works right with that. So I find that a lot of the way it's transforming for me is it's almost like the crystals kind of speak to me. It's a combination of what I call fixed and fluid divination, where there's some specific meanings, but there's a lot of room for your psychic mind to just kick in and take over and let the reading go where it needs to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we jump into some of the questions we already have set, I want to address a couple of the questions that people have asked already. One is about how can you protect yourself psychically, which is really important when you're looking to evolve and to change and to grow, making changes in your life, going through transitions, even if you're just an empath and you feel and you sense the energy of other people really importantly. There's a few different methods. One is looking at physical methods. So things like having salt baths, walking in nature, meditating, things like that. Essential oils like patchouli is another great one. The protection oils that we sell here are great for physical. You can also do more of a mental, like creating a white light around you in a bubble. And we do have a video on that connected with our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. So please feel free to have a check there. We've got the whole stages written out and we have it on a CD as well. Is there any other methods that you would like to add in that, like for the average person starting on their magical path for protection?
Yeah, I would say for all you witches or would-be witches, pagans out there on a magical path, those that are maybe attuned to the things like the elements of earth, air, fire, and water, you can get a lot of balance in a lot of your practices just by looking at that. So when I look at the earth element, all things physical. So if we're talking about protection, finding crystals or sage, some sort of physical item that you can use to help protect. Something like the air element would be doing some sort of mental work, visualization, maybe visualizing yourself being filled with a beautiful white light or a color that you feel drawn to. So we kind of look at kind of going through the different elements. You know, fire might be literally working with fire, like you have the, you know, like really sage really kind of covers a lot of those elements and we carry that within us. So sometimes an elemental approach is good. What I personally feel is when you're first starting out, it's easiest to start with something that's more physical, something that doesn't require a huge learning curve. But then as you go deeper, it's really the inner work that we do, shielding, protection, visualization, doing regular kind of inner cleansing, inner work, self-work. That's the stuff that really kicks in and makes us like Teflon later on.
Yeah.
So just take it a bit at a time. You'll get stronger over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I see some people asking for some energy healing. And at the end of our session later tonight, Christine and I would both be happy to send that to you. So just if you're somebody who would like some energy healing tonight, just drop a note at the bottom of this video and we will make sure to add you when we're sending our energy tonight. So thank you. So the next thing that I brought today, I was pretty excited about it, is what I'm going to call the cauldron of questions. Dun, dun, dun. So we've loaded it up with some questions, some of the more common ones that we've been asked from time to time, or things that I think you might be interested in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick out a question. I'm going to ask Christine the question, and then she's going to pick one out and ask me, and we'll see how it goes. There are no passies, so you don't get to not answer. Deal?
Okay, deal.
All right, here it goes.
You pick.
The first question. All right, Christine, what advice do you give for someone who wants to come out of the broom closet?
Oh, you know, that's a really big question in a lot of ways. So as I mentioned earlier, reclaiming the words witch or even pagan, depending on which aspect that you're looking at there, they're charged words. And part of the reason why we you know, at least for my tradition, why we reclaim the word witch is to tap into that power. And but having said that, I find a lot of times if I haven't received a lot of negative reactions, but I'm also, to be quite honest, I'm fairly selective with who I choose to share my most sacred aspects of myself with. There are people who wouldn't understand, but I also find that those that would be negative about that are projecting their own twisted ideas or misinformation, propaganda. I mean, and let's face it, witches and a lot of pagans in particular have had, hundreds of years of persecution behind it, sadly. So there's lots of reasons to move cautiously. This is a huge step for me to go live on Facebook tonight. Really, this was a challenge for me. So I find that you don't have to tell everybody. I think that if it's someone in your life that you want them to know you better and you want to include them in that, to start slowly. A lot of times what people will start with is just say that, I follow earth-based spirituality. And if they want to know more, then you might say that I'm pagan. And then you might say a little bit more. And then you might say I'm Wiccan, or something that they can understand. And then for the witch, you get down to the witch later. So you kind of follow those levels a little bit. And take your time. And you know what? And I would say, don't waste your time on anybody who just wants to disparage you or abuse you, because that is a form of abuse. You don't have to put up with that. And but if you want to come out of the broom closet, if ever there was a safer time in history to just say, hey man, this is who I am, this is my path, this is sacred for me, then this is the time. Yeah.
I think it's important too to remember that where you are today is not where you're going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years. So the people who are important to you, let them know who you are, because then they can continue the journey with you. Mm-hmm. So for myself, like, I have clients coming from all over the world for readings, and I'm one of the founders of InSpirit Centre. It would have been a blindside for my family and my friends and my husband if this was the first they ever heard that I was into this stuff. It's been much easier for people to follow me along the last 25 years when I started, like, maybe not going to church as much, started to studying tarot, taking this Reiki course, and following along. Give people the opportunity to follow you on your journey. Most of the time, they're going to be loving and accepting of you because they love and accept you. And at the end of the day, your spiritual path is private and it's your personal path. It's okay if not everybody in your life shares that same passion and that same path.
Yeah. And at the same time, you would think that, I mean, if we are embodying our tradition, then people will see that. At the end of the day, we're human beings living a human life in a human body and trying to live our best spiritual life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people will see us modeling that, and we'll see, even if they have some, they're confused about why you would choose this and what that means. But when they see you're a good person doing good works, then they're like, oh, okay, so not so bad.
Yeah. Kelly, thank you so much for your comment. I will add links for you as well regarding the video that we touched base on already. And thank you, Teresa, for your comments. Yes, I am feeling much better and happy to be out of the hospital, and very appreciative of my magical community who's been lighting candles and praying for me and all those kinds of wonderful things. So thank you so much. All right, Christine, hit me up.
Okay. I don't know. Here, let's just see what happens. Oh, have you ever had a spell go horribly wrong?
Oh, dang. Well, all right, so here's the thing. I don't really do spells, kind of, sort of. I work with energy, laws of attraction. I do light candles and prayers, but spells in the traditional sense, I don't really see, but we said no boomerang. So what am I going to say? Did I ever have anything go horribly wrong?
I've got a story.
You've got a story?
I do, actually.
Share your story, because I don't actually have one.
It includes a bit of an overshare, but I think that you might find that entertaining. So I don't actually do a ton of spells myself. And if I do, I want it done, but good, because I'm just too lazy to do it again. And I also want the validation that it's working. So I once had a family member who had a pretty major surgery and was not allowed to leave the hospital until all the bodily functions were happening as they should. And sorry for this, going into some vulgar territory here. But anyway, this particular person was constipated. The doctors could not give them any more medication. There was nothing else that anything could be done. And the next stage would have been that they couldn't leave the hospital, that things would get worse, maybe getting into some surgical situation or something far more invasive. So I got a phone call from the family member of this person asking if I could please do something. And I did. I did a spell to help get things moving along. And within about an hour, I got a phone call saying, "Oh, whatever you're doing, it's working. It's working. We have some progress." And so things were starting to move in a good direction. So I was really happy for that. But here's where things been said horribly wrong. I will just say that in a way, the spell backfired because what I did to this person also happened to me. Times three. Times three. And they say your magic comes back to you times three. So it was a very cleansing experience for me. So maybe
nice.
not, but anyway, yeah, be careful what you put out there because it's coming back.
That's awesome.
Like a boomerang.
The boomerang.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask you a question now. Here we go. What is your favorite metaphysical tool and why?
Oh, golly.
It's going to be tough because this one here, she is a more is more kind of girl. You know, some people are more is less. She's more is more. But if you have to pick just
yeah,
one.
because sometimes more really is more.
So just what?
Well, if I could only have one metaphysical tool, I don't know. I think it might have to be a candle.
Oh.
I do a lot of work with candles in a lot of different ways. I figure if you took my wand away, I mean, I've got my fingers, I've got my hands, but I'm like, there's just something about a candle that just, just sends information out. I make spirit connections that way. It responds. Nice. I don't think I could live without that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell everybody a secret because just between us, folks, we keep a secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be releasing our own line of 7-day candles for a wide variety of purposes.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited. Hopefully they will be ready next week, but at least you heard it first and you know it's coming. So awesome.
And it's something I will want to buy.
Nice.
Even though I have, what do you get? The witch who has everything, but I will still want to buy these.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fire away.
This is for you this time.
This
yes?
is for me. Yes.
Okay. So, can you be pagan even if you're not intuitive?
Yes. In my opinion. Yes, absolutely. Paganism is a collection of earth-based spiritual paths. It has nothing to do with intuition.
It doesn't have
in my
to.
opinion. Like you have your connection to the spiritual world, to the physical world, to the deities that you feel connected to. You have your practice. You don't have to be intuitive. I think a lot of people make intuition now out like it's this big, amazing thing. And if you don't have it, then you're nothing. And that's not true at all. And certainly for myself, I've not been intuitive my whole life. This has been something that I worked on and learned and grew. And had it always been there, I probably would have made a lot of different decisions when I was younger.
Oh yeah, well,
right? But you don't need to be intuitive at all to be pagan.
I agree. There's so many practices, and when you start looking into paganism in general, it's this huge umbrella. So what even my perspective is just one small, tiny piece of the wedge, of the pie that is pagan. I mean, there are pagans who are religious. There are those that aren't. There are those that believe in deities. There are those that are atheists. There are those that do magic. There's those that don't.
Yeah.
Some are seers. There's a place for everybody. And I think that there's also as much choice. I mean, I think in any pagan Facebook group that I've been involved in, when you start asking people what their path is, you'll find that there's almost as many paths as there are people.
Yeah.
There's no reason to worry about that.
Actually, on that note, if you didn't know already, we do run a pagan Facebook group as well, called the Pagans of Halton, and both Christine and I are administrators with a good friend, Dwayne. It's a wonderful group. We're very accepting of everybody, and as long as people are conducting themselves with respect to each other, everybody's welcome. So if you're looking to join a community, particularly as we're going into yet another lockdown, come and join us. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, we would love that. You don't have to self-identify as pagan to join. We only ask that you be open to everyone else, and it's a great place to I don't know, kind of get your feet wet or just see what other people are doing.
Absolutely. All right, whose turn is it? My turn.
Lay it on me. Lay it on
you. All right.
Yep.
If you were trapped on a desert island and you could only bring one metaphysical tool, what would it be and why?
Oh, well, as a magical practitioner, I would have to say that I should have everything that I need, sitting naked on a beach. I shouldn't need for anything in order to do whatever magic I want. But I like the shiny, so I'm going to say a quartz crystal. Yes, when
nice.
we're versatile, you know, it can do just about anything. And I've often recommended that to people in the source of life can only get one crystal. And I said, well, how about a clear quartz? And I said, if you're stranded on a desert island and you could take only one crystal with you, I think that would be the one. So I'm going to say a quartz crystal because I think I could do just about anything with that.
Nice.
Why not?
Nice.
I could even light a fire with this here. You know, just get the sunlight in. I get my fire going.
Yep.
Scry while I'm at it. Get some messages. You got to hunt or you're gonna die. Or I don't know.
Nice. All right.
All right. So I need to ask you a question now.
Yep.
All right. Let's
I'm ready.
See what we got
Fire
here.
away.
Can pagans happily date or marry non-pagans?
Yes. I think that you can.
Yeah.
Of course, not everybody will be happy with a non-pagan when they're pagan in their life. They may want somebody that shares their path. Mm-hmm. In my experience with doing readings for 25 years, a lot of times one partner will start on this path for various reasons, and then the other one will come kicking and screaming for the first little bit, and then they buy in and they both find their way together. So I guess it depends what's really important to you. But I think that, again, spirituality is deeply personal. So it's okay if you don't believe the exact same thing, so long as that you're both respectful to each other. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And I see again, I'm doing my face reading. Hi, Charlotte. Yes, I will be happy to post a link to the group at the end of this. Oh, thank you, Alessandra. Right. Listed. Yes, pagans have halted.
Oh.
And yes, of course, we'll be happy to continue adding the energy healing at the end. So keep adding your names and requests for whatever you would like. Great. And if we miss your questions during the live feed, please add them on and we'll be happy to answer them later as well.
Yeah, I'm clicking on here and trying to heart people by, I can only do a few at a time here. But
we'll heart everybody at the ends, right?
So, it's so
big
nice.
Hearts, yes.
It's so nice to see so many amazing people here and
let's see if we got a few more questions. If you're not bored with us, we're going to keep going. Let's see what we got here. How did you decide to follow witchcraft as a spiritual path?
Oh, well, that's a really interesting question. I would say that I found the craft the way a lot of people actually do, which is through trauma. I just found that I knew that I didn't want the religion that I inherited, but I didn't really have anything else. And I was very intuitive, but I was afraid of my vision. So I tried to shut that down. And in doing so, I think I really kind of ended up on a difficult path. You know, I had gone through a big burnout. I was, trying to fit in a corporate environment where I'm not really made for that. And not, really knowing myself. And then just as I'm coming out of that, I had a really traumatic accident, life-altering, and continues to be life-altering. And then I found out, and then I would say that it's really her fault because I had been working as a resident artist at the Williams Mill Visual Arts Centre for 10 years, and I decided I wanted to kind of wind that down a little bit, take a break because my shoulder just couldn't work that hard all the time. And I wanted to shift gears. I knew that I was changing. And I came in and I actually booked a reading with my sister Barbara. I like a proper appointment, paid for it. I didn't want big sister advice. I wanted her to channel all the good stuff to try to help me. And I felt like I was going to die. Long story short. And I remember her saying to kind of connecting in with that, and said that that I was going through a really significant spiritual experience, and that in a couple years I wasn't going to be the same person, and then she said I was going to be doing what she does, And I thought, poppycock, I'm not going to do that. Poppycock, hogwash, I'm not doing that. Even though I have a lot of intuition that wasn't well developed, but and then she told me I was past the Doreen Virtue stuff. So what I ended up happening was I was helping out at the shop when they adopted their little girl, and I thought I have some experience, and I thought they're going to need some help. So I wanted people to answer everybody's questions, and then like so many people, I saw Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner by Scott Cunningham, and decided I don't know anything about Wicca if anybody asks. So I read the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. Like, this is so me. I didn't know it was a thing. I just thought it just described so many things about me, and I decided I wanted to know more. So it's kind of a long answer, but you know what? We describe the path of witchcraft as being the crooked path. Sometimes we meander around before we get there, but it might take us a bit of a journey to get there. And that was the case for me. And then once I kind of connected in with that, then I wanted to meet other pagans. I couldn't meet anybody. I wanted to study. I couldn't find teachers that was going to work for me. And then I discovered books by Christopher Penczak, and then I thought, I'm going to just Google Christopher Penczak, and then and he said that he was doing that, you could apprentice with him, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I've been studying with Christopher Penczak ever since. And even though he's out of New Hampshire, Salem, New Hampshire, that ended up being the right choice for me at the time. I always reserve the right to change my mind. But one thing leads to another. But quite frankly, it is often unhealed trauma that leads people to the craft. And then we discover sometimes it's a last resort. But what we discover is it could have been a first resort, because there is so much healing. There is so much life affirming and healing practices in there. Yeah. And that's what it was for me.
Absolutely. So Becca asks if we have any suggestions for plants and things to help with your spiritual practice, or your magical practice, since we're in spring. And so Becca, my suggestion is anything herb related that you can either dry out and use, like lavender, or eat, like most of your herbs, or burn, like sage, things like that are worth adding into your garden. But to me, what's really important is to add in the mindfulness that comes with gardening. So talk to your plants. Maybe you want to add some crystals around them, water them, and build a relationship with them, as well as learn what you can, what needs a little bit more shade, what needs a little bit more sun, like what's the language of the plant trying to tell you when it's drooping or the leaves are wilting, things like that. But I find plants that have a usage are a great way to get started with that whole mindfulness and to feel that connection with your plants. Yeah. Aside from that, anything with small flowers helps to draw in fairies, if you would like some fairies in your garden. So basically anything that will draw butterflies is going to draw fairies. Okay. Yeah.
Are you okay for one question here? Since it's your turn anyway. Teresa has a question, and she wants to know, why is it some can see or hear the dead and others can't? And I just thought if you had time for that question, I think it's perfect for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So being able to connect in with people who've passed away is a talent or a skill like any other. So some people are naturally good at playing the piano. Other people can do it only through a lot of practice. Some people are naturally good at hockey. Other people need a whole lot of practice. Some people are naturally good at hearing spirits that have passed away, but anybody can do it if you're willing to put the time in to practice it. Yeah. And then in regards to whether you hear it or see it, that kind of depends on how your intuition works for yourself. So people are either clairvoyant, meaning you see things, clairaudient, you hear it, clairsentient, you feel it, like, when you get the goosebumps, things like that, or claircognizant, you just know it and you don't know how you know it. So it's different for each person, but stick with us. We do have some videos and articles as well to help you a little bit with that. And we have lots more on our website, and we do have courses and things that will be coming up this spring and summer that hopefully you would enjoy, that I'm going to run and help people with that process wherever you are, and take you on with me.
And I just want to add one thing to that. I've taken a number of Barbara's psychic development courses, and I did a mediumship course with her I think it was in December. I want to say November. It was maybe not December, but it was late fall. It was a certificate program. And it was really interesting because for me, I had some mixed results in the actual class, but it's really blossomed since then. So sometimes it's really worth it to have a little practice. I agree. Like as a singer or a musician, I feel like it's like fine motor skills. It's like developing a fine motor skill, and it's really starting to really blossom for me now. So I'm really happy about that.
Awesome. Yeah. I think we have time for some more questions.
Yeah.
I can't remember where we left off. You want to hit me with one?
Okay. What advice do you give to parents of teens who want to be pagan?
Oh, this one comes up a lot. Mm. So the thing you have to always remember about your teenagers is their part of growing up is developing a sense of autonomy, which means it does not matter what you as mom and dad believe, they are going to decide they believe something else. So if you're Jewish, they may decide they're Christian. Yeah. If you're Christian, they may decide they want to be pagan. It doesn't matter. It's part of the process. So what I feel works best is accept them for what they say they are and who they say they are, and just keep encouraging them on the path of being a good person and of being a contributing member of their community and of being responsible and reliable. And you know what, if they want to dress all in black and wear pentacles for a couple of years, have at it, right? Like there's so much worse they could be doing in life. Mm-hmm. And what's really, really important with teenagers is that you keep the lines of communication open so that they feel like that they're being heard, because then they'll keep talking to you. And that's really, really important. I can't imagine the amount of stress that teenagers going through in today's world. Like I'm so happy that I came of age, with a phenomenal group of friends, a phenomenal school, but no social media. I'm that old. There was no social media. Mm-hmm. And you left home at the end of the day and that was it, right? We weren't bombarded the way kids are nowadays. So that's my advice. Keep the lines of communication open. As long as it's not anything permanent, then just encourage them and let them figure it out. We have lots of parents that bring their teens to InSpirit Centre. Sometimes they want to book a reading with me to kind of talk about their path a little bit, or they're interested and they want some suggestions for good books or crystals or whatever. And all of those things are helpful. We just really want to keep encouraging them to be the best version of themselves and to stay connected.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to this because for young people that are under the age of 18, for example, if you wanted to be Wiccan and it's like a traditional type of Wicca where those are more coven-based trainings, a lot of them will not train anyone under the age of 18. So in some ways I can really feel for young people who want to move forward on their path, but where there's a lot of traditions that won't necessarily be open to you just yet. So what we kind of end up with is things, TikTok, the media, and tons of books. And so sometimes that can be really hard, both for a budding young pagan to navigate and also for the parents to navigate. So I would say, for that, I would actually say encourage you to just come on and talk to us at the store if you just want to have a chat about that, because I think what Barbara touched on, which is really important, is asking the questions, is this helping me? Is my spiritual path helping me to be the best version of myself? Is it healing? Is it life affirming? Those are the kinds of questions that you want to ask. And so I would say maybe for parents to start with things like some books and things like that. There is a book by Silva Ravenwolf called Teen Witch. That's more of a Wiccan style of witchcraft. That might be a place to start.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And we're always available by phone as well, or private message us through Messenger, Facebook, Instagram. Any of those things are fine. And we also ship worldwide. So if there's something that you want for yourself or your teen to help on the path, we're happy to make suggestions, but we're also happy to get it for you and get it to you.
Yeah, that's great. And any way that you want to reach out and get some advice. There are traditions or practices out there that are not life affirming. So I think that it's really important to use that discernment and discretion and to help teach your child how to see those things for themselves too.
Yep.
Good luck to you. I'm not a parent, so.
I am with the teens, so I get it.
So good for you.
All right. I'm going to do a deep dive now.
Okay, here we go.
Here we
I
go.
see lots of comments, which is lovely. I'm so glad.
That one we kind of covered.
Okay, let's cover.
I'm going to do another one. So that's not a boomerang. It's just a repeat of one that we already talked about. Okay. What's the best way to ensure a spell is successful?
Well, my first thought is get out of your own way. Just going to say it because a lot of times people will say, I'm going to do a spell for this. I want prosperity. And then they've spent the whole night online shopping and put themselves in debt. Well, you're working at cross purposes, right? So I think if you want your spell to be successful, that it's that you are aligning your efforts. So let's say I want to go for a new job, and but I haven't done my resume. I haven't, contacted anybody. You've got to do the physical things as well as the metaphysical things to help boost it's basically the metaphysical is to help boost your efforts along so that maybe that resume will land on the right desk at the right time in the right place. But if you don't have that resume, if you haven't done the work, if you're working against yourself or you don't have the education you need, then you're getting in your own way. And that is the best way to block a spell. So the best way to succeed is stack the deck. Stack the deck in your favor.
Yeah. Awesome. I would say too is really think about why you want what you want. So some people message me that they've broken up with who they thought was the love of their life, and they really want that particular person back, even though that person may be unemployed and be abusive and a cheater and all of those things. When really what they should be focusing in on is I want love. I want a loving, respectful, deeply committed relationship instead of deciding you want this particular person. So look at your motivations and try to boil it down is my suggestion, and that will help as well.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea to assume that you will get exactly and precisely what you asked for.
Yeah.
So it's all in the ask, right? And
absolutely.
So it's a lot of, but also part of that is the process. Sometimes it's learning how to frame a spell is by asking for something that you thought you wanted and realizing that it wasn't, you got it, but it wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
Right? That's all about honing your skills.
Absolutely.
So it's okay.
All right. Dive?
All right, let's jump in here. We've got another one. Do pagans have to commit to a specific path or deity?
Well, you're being asked to the lady who does not commit to a specific path or a deity. So my answer is no, you don't have to commit to any specific path or any specific deity. We're humans, we evolve, we change. As we learn and we grow, our perspectives change. So what you want in a relationship with your spirituality, with your deities, is going to change too, in my opinion. So you don't need to lock in. If you want to, and having the rules and the boundaries set out by a pre-existing path, and that's important to you and it brings you comfort, then knock yourself out. But I don't think you have to.
No, I think sometimes it's really good to take your time and do some research first, get to see what else is out there, get your feet wet, and I think always reserve the right to change your mind. You're never locked in. Not even me.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, if I'm here because I choose to be here. I follow my path because I choose to follow it. I study because I choose to study.
Yeah, absolutely. So Barb asks if it's possible to enhance your connection to spirit without taking a mediumship course, and just for yourself and not for reading for others. Absolutely. I recommend that as you feel the urge, speak with your ancestors, your loved ones who have passed away. You may want to set up some parameters to get communication back, like ask them to give you a sign, like leave you some dimes or a feather or show you a butterfly, things like that. But really just talk to them is important for maintaining that connection as you want to, and work on quieting your mind. That's the single most important thing with anything that involves intuition, is working to quiet that chatterbug of a mind. Because spirit energy is gentle and it's quiet. And in order to hear it, you have to be able to hear the quietness that goes on, right? And getting that jibber jabber to calm down. So there's lots of different meditation techniques that are worthwhile for trying that out on your own. You can try some stuff through YouTube. We have things on our channel some things on our website as well. You don't need to take a course. Just keep plugging away at it and devote time and energy to it like you would any other skill that you want to develop.
Yeah, I want to add to something that if I could, because I always seem to have something to say. I was also thinking about spirit allies too. So it could be loved ones, but spirit allies. And I was talking to a friend earlier today, and we were talking about, especially early on in our own paths, that it was often hard to hear back. Again, you're building a meditation practice, working on those things. But I think also just that invitation for to invite your highest and best spirit allies into your life. And I like to say highest and best, so there's a filter in place. So not just anybody's coming in to guide you, but and to invite them in your life, either for healing or just to get to know them. I think even lighting a candle for them, just something so that what you're doing is just kind of picking up the phone and making a call and developing a relationship with your spirit allies or spirits on the other side. And, my friend was mentioning that. She said, well, I couldn't hear for a long time, but I noticed synchronicities, certain synchronicities, things would line up, and I'm talking more about spirit allies in this case. But, so I think that just taking that a little bit at a time, but, I think something as much as lighting a candle and saying, thank you. I would love to see and hear you more, but thank you for blessing me and protecting me. Whatever you want to do, what feels right. Yeah.
Diana has a great question. She says, what if you've been named after a goddess, but have never felt her call or presence? And I think that's an amazing question, Diana, because that is definitely going to be true for a lot of people moving forward, because names after deities are becoming a lot more common and popular than they used to be. Now, for yourself, I happen to think you do embody many of the characteristics of Diana. You bring so much beauty and goodness into the world, but because it's part of who you innately are, I can appreciate that you may not see it that way, right? Because it's just part of who you are and what you do. But our names are, for the most part, what our parents have chosen for us. And so that's their hopes and dreams. And that does not necessarily tie into who you are as a person and what spirit connections you have. So you may wish to consider giving yourself a magical name that more connects with what deities you feel connected to and the presences that you feel. So you may want to do that, and that can be private and secret to yourself. It's not something you necessarily have to announce to everybody. But if you do want to work with the spirit you've been named after, then you may want to research them some more, leave out offering bowls, speak to them, add them into your prayers and things like that. And for a lot of spiritual paths, it may take months or years in order to feel that connection back. So in many paths, it's one-sided. You give, and then eventually you may get something back. So that's one option to consider.
And from my point of view, oftentimes the gods choose us. You never know who you might connect with, or who might come through for you, might be completely unexpected. I feel the same way in the sense that I have a very Christian name. I'm Christine Marie Ford. If my last name was Joseph, I would stand for Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Embodying that path, although there's some virtues that they represent that I value, of course. But sometimes that's just the way. But I do find also in terms of other deities that are out there, a lot of times the ones that we, like what Barbara was saying, what we do most embody, that we already kind of jive with, don't necessarily jump out at us as much sometimes because we're kind of already in sync with them. A lot of times the ones that will make their presence known to us are the ones that are offering something that we need in order to complete or heal ourselves. And they're the ones that tend to come forward more strongly. But it depends. It's very personal. It depends for each person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So Cindy says that she's been feeling disconnected on her path, likely COVID, and what tips do y'all have to help people with the funk of COVID? Oh my gosh, this COVID funk. Oh my gosh, I feel you. So those of you that don't know, I was hospitalized with COVID and recently released from the hospital. It was very scary. I could not breathe on my own and I couldn't talk, and that is one of my favorite things to do. And I had no intuition. no abilities to connect in with anything, didn't feel presences, nothing. I just lied in a hospital bed for 8 days and with oxygen, and that was that. So I get what you're saying. And as we go into yet another lockdown, I totally feel the funk. So this is what I'm doing for me, and maybe it will work for you too. Okay. I'm taking it one day at a time, and sometimes one moment at a time. Try to find some happiness in little things, like feeling the sunshine on your face, like the taste of fresh strawberries. Feel the ground under your feet. Go outside as much as you possibly can, and feel the earth, and just go back to a simpler lifestyle. Not every day do we have to be epically, amazingly awesome superheroes. Some days it's enough to get out of bed, wipe your own butt, brush your teeth, and that's all that happens in a day. That's okay. So just feel the energy around you, and allow your body and your mind to be quiet. Remind yourself that this is going to pass. Yes, it's taking a long time, but COVID is not going to be forever. It's going to pass, and we will certainly have our celebrations as soon as we can, right? And get together.
Yeah, it's been really hard. I mean, Barbara and there's only 2 other human beings in the entire world that are in my bubble. That's it. And my husband is one of them, and he's not a talker. So I'm like, oh, great, other people, blah, 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 blah. And I find if you do have any kind of spiritual practice, magical tools and things that we have, for myself is kind of just realizing that I'm getting caught in a funk and trying to lean into myself, lean into my practice, seeing what tools I have, what can I do, and also forgiving myself for being exhausted and scared and worried and everything else that goes along with it. It's not nice. And I find that it's a real mix of like, I'm really busy and then now we're shut down again. And in January, my gosh, I'm an introvert, and I had cabin fever, and it seemed like every single day I'd turn on the TV, and then there's Bill Murray, and it's Groundhog Day again, and I'd already watched it through twice. You know, sometimes I would just put that movie back on just to be ironic. And I laughed to myself because I'm like, every day is Groundhog Day. Only Bill Murray got to go wherever he wanted and talk to whoever he wanted. So yeah, I admit January was a bit of a funky time. And now I'm like, okay, at least the weather's getting better now. Yeah. But I had to kind of just look in and like lean into my practice and say, okay, what do I have? Yeah. What can I do today? Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And call it good. Yeah, I think Groundhog Day is the perfect analogy. Every day, same, but different, right? Yeah, totally. So I think also connect in with your build your spiritual crew online by joining some groups that fit with you, and leave groups that don't work for you. There's lots of groups that are you'll find that you've outgrown. Or that they're taking a tone and a change that doesn't really resonate with you. So look for that, add in for that. Like we said before, you're welcome to message us anytime for both of us or through InSpirit Centre. We're always happy to chat. So Christine's an introvert, but I call myself an extrovert. Like, I love my family, but I need more faces in my day. Like I like a lot of faces in my day. I miss when InSpirit Centre was full on open, and we have like multiple rooms upstairs in use and people downstairs and people everywhere. And I'm missing all your beautiful faces. But I do actually enjoy that too. I think I'd like to balance it, you know, a little bit of alone time to recharge my batteries, and then I want to get back out into the world. You know, it's like breathing. Sometimes we go within, sometimes I want to go out, you know? Yeah. There was a good question here from Jacqueline. I wondered if I could pass on. So Jacqueline was saying, I'm feeling called to the spirit world and crystals. Nice. I have gathered stones, but don't know what to do from here. But she feels good things have been happening, so that's a good sign so far. Also, sorry to hear that you were sick. Thank you. And I just wondered if you wanted to comment on that. Yeah, so with crystals, it's great to follow your gut instincts. Pick a crystal every day to tuck it in your bra, your pocket. You can use crystal grids with them. Put them wherever you want, where they make you feel happy and where you see them regularly and can touch them regularly.
there is meanings and definitions that go with each, but it's more important on how they make you feel. So if they make you happy, that's what's important. So you can start with there. Again, we have some good articles and tips on how to use them for different purposes. So I'll plunk some links in later tonight down on this feed that you can follow. But also feel free to check out our website, InSpiritCentre.com, and look under tips and articles. And I think there's tons of stuff there for crystals. There's also information about how to cleanse them, things to avoid, all kinds of good stuff like that. Crystals are a great way to get started. And some people do make it more complicated than it needs to be. So really follow your gut instincts with how they make you feel and use them the way that works best for you.
Cool.
I think that's good.
And one last question before we move on. When will the in-store readings be up and going again?
Yeah. So we are still doing phone and Zoom readings for myself, Christine, and with Terry. So you're welcome to call in anytime, and we book appointments. We have a lot of flexibility with the lockdown so that we can accommodate days, evenings, weekends.
My schedule just opened wide up.
Yeah. Both our schedules are fairly wide open. So if you're okay with a distance reading, we can do it anytime. In person, I'm not really sure. We're going to have to see what the government say as far as safety is concerned. My sincere hope is that all of our team members will have their first vaccines by the end of April. I'm pretty sure everybody's intending it. But we'll find out. And then once it's safer, then we plan to open up as soon as possible, because certainly we miss having our one-on-one sessions and face-to-face sessions. Those are always first choice.
For sure. For sure. All
so
right.
I want to thank you everybody for joining us tonight. It's been so much fun. We are hoping to do this again in a couple of months. So if that's something that you think would be worthwhile, please let us know. Drop a link below. Or if there's any topics you'd like to see us chit-chat about, we're happy to do that. I will be meeting with Terry in a couple of weeks to do one on all things metaphysical. So Terry works with us as well, and she does mediumship. She's a numerologist as well as doing card readings. So we'll also be doing all kinds of neat chit chat like this.
I'm putting together some workshops to do online as well. That would be like Zoom. I know everyone's maybe zoomed out, but one is divination for spell work will be coming up. So if you are into spell work and you want to do some divination, but now is the time to drop us your suggestions. If there is any classes that you would like me to offer for you, anything, again, magically, around magic, witchy stuff, earth-based spirituality is definitely my specialty. Yeah. Drop us some suggestions.
Yeah, we're always open to suggestions, and absolutely. Yeah. So we're happy to do that, and we look forward to seeing you all again. Yeah. Please remember to make a note below if you would like an energy healing tonight from Christine and I. And we thank you so much. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you feel comfortable, please feel free to share this video around in your Facebook groups and things like that to help out the small business that we are. And we're on YouTube, and we'll have more videos there as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Oh, it's been wonderful.